items are up.
No, she said.
Okay. Bannock County Commissioners are back in session for the last time today, I hope. It's been a good day for meetings. We're here for the Area of City Impact kickoff meeting. And to begin with, I'd like to go around the table and introduce everybody because we're not always know who everybody is. The other part of that is if you're representing a city, let us know who will be the primary point of contact for these discussions going forward. So I'm Commissioner Jeff Huff, and we'll just go this direction.
Commissioner Ernie Moser.
Brent McLean, Planning and Development Director for the City of Pocatello.
And will you take the lead for these
Yes, I'll take
discussions?
the lead.
Okay.
Commissioner Rodney Burge. I work with a nonprofit called Strategic Communities Alliance. We represent Lyle Hot Springs on this topic.
Okay.
Mayor Vicky, her father recently passed away. She's in California taking care of his estate, so asked to be excused. She and myself will be both lead contacts for this effort.
Okay. Thank you.
Rex Nielsen, Mayor of Downey. I'll be in contact along with Kedron Criddle, city clerk.
Okay.
Lonnie Gunter, Mayor of Jaramo, City Clerk and myself will be the contacts for this.
Okay. Thank you.
Carlene Hall, City of McCammon, and I'll be a contact, and probably Cassidy or Aaron, and Stephanie if she wants. How's that?
We'll start with you and go down from there. Sounds good. Thank you.
I'm Don Madsen. I'm the Interim Community Services Director for Chebec.
Okay.
I'll be the contact.
Okay.
Paul Jensen, Planning Director, Bannock County.
Tristan Borkwin, Assistant Planning Director, Bannock County.
Elise Foster, Subdivision Planner, Bannock County.
Annie Hughes, Zoning Planner, Bannock County.
Jason Dixon, Bannock County Clerk.
Ken Bullock, County Commissioner.
Okay. Now we're all familiar. Glad everybody could make it today. Rex Nielsen from Ingham, Max, excuse me. Yeah, Max confirmed that yeah, you're right. Max Schaefer. Sorry, Max. I just butchered that all over the place, didn't I? Rookie mistake. I'm riding those coattails for as long as I can. Max did confirm that he would be here, so we'll welcome him when he gets here.
He won't be here.
Oh, he will not?
I just messaged him and he said no.
Okay, then we will excuse Max at this time. So the purpose of today's meeting is to bring everybody up to speed and hopefully get us all kind of on the same page with the Area of City Impact, which last year the legislature passed the legislation reducing the Area of City Impact and trying to clarify who owned the Area of City Impact and things of that nature. And so that's kind of what today is to, number one, just kind of go over those parameters, talk about some of the issues that we'll be exploring when we go through our negotiations. And then also I want to walk out here with some potential target dates to have our meetings with the cities, and then our final meeting where we bring the public in and have it all together. We spoke with Franklin County about their process, and we really liked what they did. And at the end for their final meeting, rather than go to the expense of having multiple meetings, they had one night where they had everybody come in shifts. And so that's kind of what we'd like to end up with towards the end, if that's possible, is one meeting, one night, one day, whatever it may be, that we have all the cities come together and we finalize and have that public meeting. So with that, I also want to thank our attorney, Jonathan Radford, for the help he's given us in going through this and making sure we're dotting our I's and crossing our T's and doing what we should. So at this point in time, I'm going to turn the time over to Hal, and Hal did a great job on your agenda. He went through and kind of identified the various sections of the statute to give you kind of an abbreviated version. If you want to go read the full one, obviously you can, but Hal did a good job. So I'm going to turn the time over to Hal to go through what he sees the process being and go from there.
Most of what I identified, thank you, Commissioner, most of what I tried to identify were things that I felt were major changes or substantial changes to what the old statute was relative to jurisdictional authority, etc. But I would like to just jump to number 3, areas of impact should be established, modified, or confirmed. So we're going to be discussing with each of you when we meet what is your idea and concept of near future. The statute says within 5 years. we would like you to be able to provide some defensible position with backing and information, conversations that you're having with potential developers, et cetera, that show areas that you will be moving into and why it makes sense to have an ACI in a particular area of a particular size. One of the items that, and I have not received legal clarification, but this is a modification of an existing ACI. That's how I interpret the ordinance, so therefore, that's where it falls. Please come prepared. We've had some conversation briefly, I should say actually, that Commissioner Bullock has had some preliminary conversations. This is very simplified when I say this, so don't come at me with pitchforks. If you, as a small city, do not have any opportunities to provide future growth for sewer and water, etc., the question is, if that isn't going to occur within 5 years, what is your ACI? Is it just your city boundaries? Or is it just a quarter mile past? Those are some of the discussions that we're going to be having about what makes logical sense as we look to an ACI for justification against what this statute says. Item 5, what does the process look like? We asked for who the contact will be. Tristan and I will be taking the lead from the county, representing the commission in regards to these discussions. We will reach out to each of you to find out when we can meet and start those conversations. We will utilize county's GIS system to develop maps as we have those conversations. For the maps that you have and you come to us with those maps, then we will look to align those and produce those documents. But please come prepared, if you can, with a map that would help in the discussion. I'm assuming that each of you, specifically Brent and Rodney, because you are representing a legal member, that they have delegated those conversations to each of you. So just wanted to make sure that we were clear on that, as well as Don from the city of Chubbuck. Establishing the ACI under item number 6. So here's one that we need to have clarity on. I briefly caught John in the hall yesterday. It's one of the other items that we're not sure about. In the language, it talks about the county will do the notification and what that process looks like. But it also says that the city will then pay for that notification. It refers to notification twice, and we're trying to figure out if that means all notifications or a specific notification. The language is somewhat vague, and we need to make sure that we're all on the same page relative to the financial responsibilities, okay? Item 8, written notice. The hearing to be conducted under this subsection shall be provided by the county to each owner of property located within a proposed area of impact. If notice is also published pursuant to section 676509 Idaho Code, individual property owners may not challenge the proceeding on the basis that they did not actually receive notice by mail. So there are some exceptions in particular instances. For the areas around Pocatello and Chubbuck, as we go through those processes, that list of potential property owners relative to receiving a letter can grow fairly large. That's why we want to make sure that how we notice this is taken care of.
Does it fall within the parameters of like a regular public notice? If it has so many people on the list, then you can just do
That's what we're investigating to find out, Brent.
Okay.
Not absolutely sure, but yes, that my gut instinct is that is the direction.
That would be a lot cheaper.
Yes. 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 Okay. There's a couple of other items with some differing language that I wanted to make note of. Item 9.2a from the statute, an area of impact must be established before a city may annex adjacent territory pursuant to the provisions of section 5222 Idaho Code. Also later in the document, it also says that just because an area of city impact is not established doesn't preclude you from annexing. And so we need to look at that conflicting language to make sure we're on the same page as well, okay? Modification or confirmation of area of city impact boundaries, subsection 3, that's the one that basically I interpret as these are modifications of ACIs that are currently in place for all of these jurisdictions. It tells us, and John, you may not, this is going to hit you cold. There's an item in here that says the county will be sending a written notice that the county is modifying boundaries of all areas of city impact to the cities. My interpretation is that that is a required formal act to comply with the statute.
That's my interpretation.
This meeting is just a general meeting. We will then send out a letter so that we comply with the statute, and that's what kicks it off and formally moves it ahead, okay? There are 5 items, or 5 criteria, excuse me, in paragraph 4A that talks about anticipated commercial and residential growth, geographic factors, transportation infrastructure and systems, including the connectivity between jurisdictions, and areas where municipal or public sewer and water systems are expected to be provided within 5 years, and other public service district boundaries. Those are the 5 items for criteria that we need to be paying attention to. The small jurisdictions, in light of the fact that you don't spend a lot of time in this particular avenue of development, etc., we will be more than glad to help you clarify and understand. We do not want to take advantage. If there's something that you're not sure of and we need greater clarification, we can either get a legal interpretation from county legal or your own from who represents your city, or both. But we want to make sure that we don't make you happy, is a good way to put it.
I thought I shut my phone off, I'm sorry.
Paragraph 4B from the statute, an area of impact shall not exceed the areas that are very likely to be annexed to the city within the next 5 years, except as otherwise provided in this paragraph. An area of impact shall not extend more than 2 miles from existing city limits. Please come prepared if you anticipate to be in 2 miles to have a defensible position. As we represent the commission has the final say about where an area of city impact is actually developed. We want to make sure that when we go back to the commission and tell them, we're giving them good defensible information, okay? Applicable counties' comprehensive plan and zoning and subdivision ordinances shall apply in the area of impact. I apologize for the public forum. Brent, I do not mean to single you out. You sent us a very kind letter, etc. We graciously accept and we kindly say at this point we'll follow the statute.
No, and that's fine. We mostly just wanted to make it clear of where we saw a conflict of what we were proposing versus what you were proposing. So.
And that said, we anticipate that our conversations with Lava, Pocatello, and Chubbuck will be of greater extent than they are with the small cities because of these particular issues. Okay?
Yep.
The Board of County Commissioners shall provide the city with written notice at least 15 days in advance of any county public hearings held pursuant to this chapter. We want to make sure that everybody's on the same page prior to those 15 days that are required for publishing a letter. Okay? Current ACIs will remain in place until the new are negotiated and arrived at by a resolution with the commission, and the county and the city will undertake or shall undertake a review of the ACI at least once every 5 years to consider future adjustments. Any other items or questions or these were the major bullet points that I saw as I went through the statute. There's other legal ramifications should you want to contest or you don't like, but we'll go down that point if we get to that point. Any other items that you have for me?
Just the one item that if we don't come to an agreement by December, there is no ACI. It's gone.
Yes, your current ACI is basically null and void.
Yeah.
So it's paramount, in our opinion, that we come to a conclusion on what makes sense for all parties involved.
And that's why we'd really like to get moving and have some good meetings and get it all settled so that everybody has something before we get to the end of the year.
Okay?
And it
Real
is-
quickly, Rodney, you reached out to me previously. I didn't get a chance to respond to you, and then I forgot until we got this meeting scheduled, and I figured
No problem.
we were going to have this conversation anyway.
And again, in speaking with Franklin County, they had some ACIs that were the city border, and their largest one was what? A quarter?
Half mile, I thought,
Half
that's what
mile.
they said. But they said a quarter to an eighth of a mile.
Yeah. So we appreciate our relationship with all of the cities in the county. We feel like we have a really good working relationship right now. And again, that's why we wanted to have this meeting, just to say we're here to work together. And as I've talked with Hal and some other things, some things that I'm concerned about is making sure our zoning and our building codes kind of line up. So if you have a commercial area, we follow suit or we make adjustments for that so that we don't have conflicts as we go forward. Another thing I've talked with Hal about, and as we're all aware, there's a housing crisis. Affordable housing is a challenge, and so we want to try to take steps to address that in some way, whatever that may look like. I don't have any idea, but we just want to kind of have that in the back of our minds as we go through the area of city impacts. How can we help with that? How can we not? Whatever that may look at.
I heard rumor that you could just move into Downey.
I don't think so.
Sorry, Mayor.
And the other thing that, is important that Hal talked about is we're very mindful of everybody's budget, so understanding who pays for what when that comes. And again, if we can try to simplify our meetings and have just one public meeting on one day and notice it, then that'll save everybody time and money, and so we want to work towards that. So just as a real quick last thing for me was, again, I kind of wanted to establish a time frame for getting this done, and I would like to do it sooner rather than later. Hal, based on your thoughts, you had talked about maybe doing that final public meeting in August. Am I remembering that correctly?
Yes.
So if we can do it sooner than August, that would be great, but if not, that's kind of the time frame we'd like to shoot. That way, if there's other issues that come up, we've got some time. We're not just waiting till the end of the year to go forward. Commissioner Bullock, anything you'd like to add or talk about?
Well, I think it's important that each city recognizes the why we're doing this, that something just outside of your jurisdiction, you got a developer, maybe just a single house going in. What's the chances of them someday wanting to be hooked up to a water sewer or a road? I think sometimes we ignore that the road is part of an infrastructure or major power lines. And I think that was what I got out of that. So we're here to not inhibit anybody from growth, but just make sure it's controlled so that at some point it just makes more sense for the growth outside of a city to, instead of punching all kinds of wells, all kinds of septic systems, to be prepared to actually come into somebody that's already got that for your water and sewer. So I think it's important that in your sales jobs with your city to help help the residents understand why we're doing it. We're not here to curtail any city's authority or everything else. It's actually to help your cities to not all of a sudden run into a hammer a few years down the road, and it could happen very easily with possible growth. I'm sure Lava can tell probably all kinds of stories about what growth does to a little dinky city. And that's the purpose. And I think that's important to bear in mind. We're all trying to work this together just to make it seamlessly. Hal and Tristan will do a great job of helping us do that. But try to look at the big picture. So we're not trying to enforce anything that we're looking forward to doing it. But I think with that, you can have a pretty good communication with those people that could be affected, whether it's a builder, a neighbor that said, by George, you're never gonna annex my house into the city. And some of them are out there that will say that, so, okay.
Yeah, if you want somebody to get mad, tell them you're gonna annex their house in the city limits.
I know.
They get fired up right away.
And if I can just build real quick on a couple things that Commissioner Bullock talked about, water and sewer are a big concern of ours as we grow. I know I've talked with Mary Lynn and Chubbuck and Devin Hilliam about the water issues and water quality and things like that. So we're very cognizant of that and how we navigate that so that we manage our water as effectively as we can, whatever that looks like, especially the sewer, to help keep our water clean. So that's top of mind for us. Commissioner?
I'm good, I think. Move forward.
City of Pocatello, you got anything?
Mostly, what are you looking for in that first meeting? Because I need to make sure I communicate with the council prior to our meeting, so I get direction from them on what they are wanting. So just depending on what kind of information you're looking for in that first meeting.
For all intents and purposes, a general idea of what you think your ACI should look like and why.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be absolute. It has to be that first blush.
Yep.
What is the potential here? So I don't mean to pick on you.
Oh,
Let's go down the concept of Northgate.
Yep.
I mean, we have a huge area beyond Northgate, and this is not meant to be a ding, but we had a hard time building out Northgate. So why would we then continue to massively expand beyond Northgate if you can't even get Northgate built out?
No, and I
Those
don't
are the kinds
disagree
of
with you.
conversations,
Yeah.
frankly, we will be having.
Yep, that's good. No, that's exactly, and I think we're probably on the same page.
And on the other side of that, when you come to us this year and we agreed with the one building plan out there to go ahead and follow the city of Pocatello's ordinances instead of ours. I mean, we've already started to work in that direction and I think that we're headed down the right path.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And I think the key is to have that friendly conversation that we can work together on. And I mean, the biggest thing with area of impacts that I've dealt with in my career is where you have a county subdivision that's on private wells, private septics, and then the city actually gets to it and starts surrounding it, and there's no way that those residents are going to annex into the city if they have all their private systems. And it creates a real boundary for city growth if you have a lot of those developments along the edge of your property. Yeah. And you end up with these county islands that are not quite an island, but almost an island, but you can't annex them because they're not a full island.
And that's a terrible headache for our road and bridge.
It's a headache for everybody. And it's bad for the county, it's bad for the city, so.
And we've had extensive talks about that, so
Yeah.
that's a big part of the discussion.
Yeah.
Not only just for Pocatello and Chubbuck per se, because they're the ones that have the closest edges and the most growth, but literally for all of
them,
the communities about how we approach residential that borders an edge.
Yeah.
And what makes sense in regards to us writing a new ordinance relative to an ACI and future growth city. Where do wells go? Why are we putting septic tanks and drain fields at the back of the house rather than the front of the house if someday future development comes down that road?
I think that applies to commercial too, because I've seen a lot of these small communities that have commercial in the county on their periphery, and you can't ever get that annexed either because they don't need your services. So.
The other item that you will need to be aware of, and this is tangential to the ACI, we have a scheduled public hearing for adoption of the comprehensive plan, which then triggers us to start rewriting our ordinance through the rest of this year as well. One of the items that is going to come about over and above these discussions will be when I call it a mass rezone, areas that we know don't function the way they did 5, 10, 15 years ago, and why they should go from a 5-acre ag lot to now residential suburban, residential rural. we will be asking for some of that input from all of the communities about what do the edges look like and what should a county zone now be to best suit what might happen within 5 years.
Yep.
Even though we're showing residential suburban, you might be showing, oh, well, we were going to go commercial general as this moves this direction. So it's not a complete moot point about your letter. So
We'll get in detail about those things.
we've got a lot of stuff. This is going to be, it's going to be a whale of a year.
Rodney, anything?
Now you know why the commissioners turned it over to Hal.
Anything from Lab?
Commissioner, I would just offer that when the legislation first came out, I think we were all nervous and scared that the footprint was going to reduce. But our view of the new legislation is it removes all the ambiguities, it defines specific roles and criteria, and we're grateful for it and ready to work with the county to make that agreement happen.
Great, thank you. Mayor?
So the boundary of the ACI, should it go all the way around the city?
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
Okay, because in Downey, you know, we can go out to the east of town relatively easy, but if we go to the west, it's kind of nasty. I mean, so do we need to go clear around the city or not?
Those will be items of conversation when we meet that first time.
Where are you going in the next 5 years?
That will help, maybe our input will help you understand what needs to take place.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
My understanding is the city boundary could be the boundary of the
ACI.
ACI. If there is no chance for that, then that's county responsibility right there.
Okay.
It doesn't, you don't have to have that eighth of a mile or whatever. It could literally, that could be your boundary right there. But you could go clear.
We have areas like that for Pocatello where we know we're not going to grow any further up the mountainside, so.
Right.
Okay, Mayor Gunner?
This ACI, do we take in, when we come up with what we think it should be, do we take into consideration where we would put a sewer or something like that in there? Because we have absolutely no room for anything on any side right now.
Yes.
And so when we draw up our plan to come to that meeting, we need to probably take that into consideration then, I guess.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Mayor Hall?
I'm just blown away.
You just want to have fun.
I got a new phone and I thought I'd put it on silent. I hope it doesn't ring again because I think I thought I did it again. Sorry.
No worries, no worries. Don?
We've been interested in adjusting our ACI. It is a little too large in some areas, well, not large in some areas, so we're glad to do that. And we have, of course, we have quite a bit of land west of town that is on city services, so they have annexation agreements, but they're more than a quarter mile away from the city limits. Getting closer.
Okay.
Those things make
Carlene,
sense.
your phone is on silent now.
That
Just the second time.
Well, I thought it said Ernie Moser. You poop. Oh.
I love this gal.
Make sure you put that in the minutes.
I was so humiliated. I kept thinking, why would Ernie call me?
Now you know.
Now you know.
Oh my gosh, you wait, buddy.
That's the second threat I've gotten this afternoon.
There may be a time when we need to all meet together because of those areas where your two edges come together. We need to have those conversations. Okay?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, anything else from staff? Okay, anything else from the commission?
No, I'm in trouble enough.
Okay, again, thank you so much for coming today. Look forward to this, and again, appreciate all you guys do.